Yes, it's that time again. It's the CRIPtic Podcast, where I, Mick Scarlett, introduce you to some of the artists that are going to be performing or creating wonderful work for the CRIPtic Pit Party. That's going to be at the Pit Theatre at the Barbican here in London on November the 19th and the 20th. I've said it so many times, I still have to think about the date. But don't worry, it's also going to be streamed live on the Barbican website, and it'll be there for about 2 weeks, I think, so you can catch it even if you can't get to London. So today we are joined by a musician, Rylan Gleave, who is up there in Glasgow, I believe. How are you? Hello, Rylan. Hello.
Hi, Mick. How are you? I'm actually in Manchester at the moment.
Are you in Manchester?
But,
you see,
yeah,
I read your bio and it said Glasgow. I thought, but no, you're in Manchester. And you're recuperating, aren't you, at the moment from surgery?
I am, yeah, in week 1, early stages of like a 6-week recovery process.
No, I was going to say week 1. Blimey, thank you so much for doing this. That's still super ouchy. There am I. Before we came on, I was making poor Rylan laugh far too much, and it was getting I was a bit worried I might be killing one of our artists before we get going. So now I know it's week 1. I'll tone it down a bit.
Moderate it accordingly.
Yeah, no, probably won't, but there we go. So what we do, everyone, is we ask them to introduce themselves to the wonderful CRIPtic audience, tell us who they are, a little bit about what they do and their creative practice. So introduce yourself, Rylan.
Hello, I'm Rylan Gleave. I'm a composer and vocalist. I'm currently based in Manchester, but normally now in Leith, just outside of Edinburgh. Moved house not too long ago. I've re-emerged as a composer-performer in recent years after training as a contemporary classical composer at the Royal Conservatoire of Scotland. I originally trained as a mezzo-soprano, which you can probably hear from my speaking voice isn't the case anymore. And when my voice finally dropped and I came into my voice as a bass baritone. So that kind of extra confidence that has come from that has meant that my practice is now a lot more informed by my voice than it used to be.
Wow, that's fantastic. It's in fact, I used to be when I was a little kid, I used to sing in the choir, and of course, because everyone knows if you're going to win I used to win loads of competitions because you do your school competition and you'd wheel out the sweet little disabled kid. So it was just, walking in the air, and then puberty kicked in, and then I was banned from singing.
Couldn't do it anymore.
About 5 years.
Such a shame.
Well, because it didn't just go walking in the air, bass goth thing.
There's no inspiration porn in that.
It goes up and down. When it's first kicking in, when those hormones. So yes,
you're right. It's not linear, is it?
No.
It's very, very wonky.
You go to sing, something comes out, and you go, "That wasn't." Yeah, I didn't mean that at all. Ah, dear, the joy of it all. Hormones are such fun.
Wonderful things.
So. What was it that attracted you to the CRIPtic project? Why did you apply?
I'd actually been following Jamie Hale on Twitter for a little bit prior, and I'd kind of familiarized myself with their work, and the human element of storytelling in their performance, but also in their curation, I found fascinating and just really something that I wanted to be a part of.
So what was it that drew you to music? What was there a moment where you think, music, or has it always been there? I'm always interested in why someone wants to become a musician.
Great question. I'm not sure anyone does. I think it just happens. I think as a kid, I also did a lot of choir, kind of chamber choir at primary school, and then I joined the Highly Youth Choir as a kid. And I think because I had a really loud voice, that was kind of it. I could make myself very much known. It was a means of self-expression that I didn't really feel I could get in many other places. And as I spent more and more time being loud and being dramatic, I think that kind of merged its way into my writing as well. A gradual thing, but it's very much underpinned by, I guess, originally wanting to be the center of attention and then switching to be a composer and really not wanting to be the center of attention, to hide behind the conductor and go, oh no, it's fine, you do it.
Yeah, so it's a bit of a switch, isn't it? I want to be I'll just compose. That's nice. And
yeah.
Away from
But now the flip side of coming back to being a performer and again being at the center, it's weird. It's different.
Well, artists.
We're fickle,
we're a multiple faceted creature, aren't we? How do you go about writing a piece? Where do you get your inspiration from?
Really great question. I think currently most of my writing comes from my own vocal improvisations, which means that lines can be, to put it bluntly, really flawed, really quite ugly. when, like when we were talking about hormones, when you're trying to access a specific part of your voice and the wrong sound is coming out, I find that can sometimes be a lot more interesting than the sound that I intended. So my writing can be quite microtonal. It can be quite stuttering. It can be really rhythmically atypical based on, you know, autistic speech patterns. So I guess it kind of draws on those things to influence it in some senses. Also, I'm very moved by personal and political matters. I think there's some level of social change that we can bring as artists that I feel really strongly about.
So when you do that, how do you go from having this atonal thing to making it something more?
So I guess my day-to-day writing, if I was to sit down and illustrate it, would be like I'd set up my home recording studio. It's like a little microphone, plugs into my laptop, and I make lots of weird noises into it for a few hours. And then I listen back to those weird noises and I look out for any patterns or things that are different or interesting. And I move those into, I'd love to say I sit and write them out by hand. I was really dedicated, but I have software that just does that for me. Like I just put it straight into the software. And yeah, that can then be transposed for any instrument. I don't always keep them exactly the same. It's just, I guess, about generating that material and then taking the aspects of it that you like and building them for a specific performer.
It's funny because many years ago, I used to have a little sequencer that had batteries in. And if you took the batteries out, it blanked all the memories. And there was a window where if you put it back in quickly enough, it randomized them. So you could,
that's cool.
So basically you'd put a load of sort of step sequences in, then you'd pull the batteries, stick them straight back in, and they'd have completely ruined them. But there was something there. And you'd spend all day just going, no, that's awful. No, that's awful. Ooh. Oh, I like that. And then you rip that little bit out and put it somewhere else, and you just do that. So it's very much that kind of working. So I can completely see how you do it, and it's a very interesting. It's very experimental, but you end up with some great stuff that you didn't. It's almost like Bowie's cut-up technique. It's sort of, you know, that kind of accidental genius. So
I was chatting about that with my friend Amaya, whose stage name is Maud the Moth, and the kind of concept of the Exquisite Cadaver. Like that game that even kids have where you draw something, then you cover up most of it and someone else finishes your drawing. So it could be like half a horse and half a seal. But doing that musically, we thought was a really, it's not new to music, Cage did it, but a really interesting way of like generating material without necessarily committing to it. But yeah, letting it be free in its movement and kind of just seeing where you end up with it.
So we know the process, we understand it. So what are you going to be creating for us for CRIPtic?
Yeah, so Rufus and I have been working on a piece that's viola, voice, and kind of found sound recordings. The vocal lines that I've been doing for that have been, again, coming all the way back to hormones, like I finally grew a falsetto after years of not really having one, or not a very distinct one. So that kind of starts off the piece with this very like soft, quite fragile sound alongside the viola. And yeah, it's quite static, I think. Is a timbral exploration in a lot of ways, yeah.
It's funny because Rufus described it, and it does sound very fascinating. So I am very much looking forward to hearing the finished piece. And you're not gonna be performing it either. It's gonna sit as a kind of soundtrack to the whole performance, really. It's gonna be played before, played during any breaks. So it's sort of going to be there, and it's going to wash over the audience. So I'm quite looking forward to that effect as well.
Yeah,
are you planning that within it? Are you planning it to be that rather than have that kind of is that kind of it that it's going to be created in that situation?
Yeah, I guess one of the really nice things about it is that you can kind of dip in and out of it. It's almost I guess timeless in the sense that it could have started or ended at any of those points. And I feel like that's quite an accessible thing to have to accompany anything really, but especially kind of the CRIPtic showcase, because yeah, it means that you don't necessarily have to be actively listening from the beginning. You can kind of come to it on your own terms.
Brilliant. And what are your hopes for the future? What do you plan to do next? Because I'm quite intrigued about where we're all going. I did my interview for this earlier, and one of the reasons why I'm really passionate about this is I want to see where everyone goes. And I've not asked anyone really, what are you doing afterwards? But I want to ask you, what's the next step along the way?
I guess the next pressing thing is I'll be going to Cromarty in the Highlands for a month-long residency.
Oh, wow.
Yeah, it's a student prize residency that I was awarded with a fellow sound artist, Rory Green. We'll be spending a month up there, I guess kind of influenced by the environment and how that might feed into the music that we make, and kind of engaging with the community there, which I'm really looking forward to. And I'm working with the Royal Philharmonic Composers Society program, which is very, very cool. Really, really happy to have been selected for that. Yeah, lots of little commissions. I'm working actually with Memento Dance Company and Crossing Borders Music in Chicago. They're an integrated dance company. They do a lot of really cool wheelchair choreography. So I'm really excited to be working with them as well.
Cool. So I was going to say, what barriers have you faced in your career? But it seems to be going quite well. So, but have you, is because I think or anyone who is deaf, disabled, or neurodivergent, there is this, there's more barriers to fight than most. And I wondered if you faced any.
Yeah, I would say a fair few. I think you're right. Currently, I seem to have found a way that works for me, but obviously that's very different for everyone. I think, funnily enough, the biggest issue is that I come across very differently on email to how I do in person. And sometimes if someone sends me like a really formal email, I'll reply in a very formal manner, and I'll be, matching that. And then they'll send me a really casual email, and I'm suddenly like, what's the dynamic of this relationship? And as soon as I'm like caught on the back foot, I can feel myself becoming more and more autistic in this situation. And I'm like, oh, okay, well, I guess we're best friends now, and I've got to say hey and pal. And so, yeah, a lot of like matching other people's social energy, and that kind of that networking aspect that isn't handed neatly to you, is problematic.
Do you know what? It's funny because I have similar issues with emails, or at least I did at the start of my career, where people didn't get my tone. I'd write an email, and in my head it went, "Hi, how are you doing?" La 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 la, and then they'd come back and say, "There's no need to be so rude." And I'd be like, "What?"
Oh no!
And then I'd read back, "There's no need to be so aggressive." And I'd read back, and I'd think, "Oh, I suppose if you read it in an angry voice, it sounded angry," because I'm thinking it in my head. I lost so much work from people going,
"Oh no,
there's no need to be so aggressive, Mick." And I'm like, "What? Oh, hang on." But I was thinking it. So, yeah, my wife actually made me put a lock on my email so I could reread everything before I sent it. And it's weird how it's those little barriers that do stop people getting on. And it also knocks your confidence.
Yeah, hugely.
Because no one, it's funny, one of the big things that come up is the fact that this whole thing about core confidence and the idea that there isn't anyone like us big enough and well known enough to make other people think, well, I can do it. And it's been interesting all the way through that people aren't, that they're, when I was young, I had Ian Jury. So I mean, and that's scary to think that, I was at school then, and I'm now old enough to be most of the performers' granddad. So they should have been someone else. I mean, are you hoping that you will be the generation that changes that?
I mean, that'd be great, wouldn't it? I don't know. I remember seeing Jamie tweeting that you were that person for them. So I think that we do see people doing it, even if they're not. You might not think you're as big as you would want to be, but I think there is a lot more positive representation than there would have been when you were growing up.
Oh well, see, there you go. You see, Jamie's kept that quiet.
Yeah.
I have to go through their timeline, going, "Oh, there it is." The scary bit is I'm in awe of them because
understandably,
one of those super talented people that just can do everything, and you're like, "Wow." Polymath.
I think that that's such an imposter syndrome thing that comes with disability, isn't it? Like I think all of us feel that to some extent.
Yeah. Anyway, we are coming to the end of our wonderful chat. So, say, how would you describe the piece that you're writing? So, if someone just went, "That's it, I have to hear that piece of music. I've got to hear it." So, I'm going to over to you to create almost the album sleeve, the sleeve notes for the release that makes people go, "That I've got to hear."
It's weird. it's a weird piece of music. It's divergent. It doesn't sound like anything else really. I think Rufus has done some fantastic things with the mix and the sound design on it. And I really think it should be heard because it's totally singular.
There you go, folks. So we know from Rufus' interview, it's spooky and there's some weird bits and stuff, and I've forgotten, but there was different moods and you end up with pixies or something. And we now also know it's singular and weird and divergent. It sounds like it's going to be one of those pieces that challenges you, but at the same time you have to hear. So if you want to hear it, you can come to the Cryptic Pit Party. Tickets are available on the Barbican website. You can tune in to the video on the Barbican from the Saturday, that's the 20th, for 2 weeks. And then, of course, I'm sure that it'll come out somewhere, released on Bandcamp for a small fee, all that kind of stuff. I've fallen in love with Bandcamp, so I'm getting everyone to use it. Anyway, and with that, I will say it's been wonderful to meet you, Rylan, and good luck with everything you do. I can't wait to hear the piece of music. And for Matt, it's bye from me, Mick Scarlett. Bye-bye, and
bye. Thank you.
See you soon. Bye-bye, folks.